The internet is once again exploding with shocking headlines, claims spreading across social media that Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist, action star, and cultural icon, has died at the age of 86. The posts are everywhere, shared, reposted, reshaped into videos, thumbnails, and dramatic captions designed to grab attention instantly. And within minutes, confusion turns into concern, and concern turns into belief. Because when a name like Chuck Norris starts trending alongside words like dead or passed away, people don't stop scrolling. They stop breathing for a second. They look again. They read twice. They check the comments. And then the reactions begin. Some people are shocked. Others are skeptical. Many simply don't want to believe it, because for decades, Chuck Norris has been more than just a man on a screen. He has been a symbol of strength, resilience, and something almost mythical. And maybe that's exactly why rumors like this spread so fast. The idea that someone like Chuck Norris could be gone doesn't just feel like news, it feels like the end of something much bigger. It feels like a piece of history being erased, a chapter closing that people didn't even realize they were still living in. But let's slow this down for a moment and really understand what's happening here. Because this isn't just about a rumor, it's about how the world reacts when a legend's name is suddenly tied to mortality. It's about how quickly emotion can override logic, how a single headline can ripple across continents, how millions of people can feel something at the exact same time without ever speaking to each other. Chuck Norris was born on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma, a small town, a quiet beginning. Nothing about his early life suggested global fame or legendary status. There were struggles, challenges, and a life that looked very ordinary on the surface. He wasn't handed success. He didn't grow up surrounded by fame or opportunity. In fact, his early years were marked by insecurity and hardship. By his own accounts, he was shy, often lacking confidence and searching for direction. But what makes stories like his powerful is exactly that. He wasn't born into greatness, he built it. His journey took a defining turn when he joined the United States Air Force. Stationed in South Korea, he encountered martial arts for the first time. And this wasn't just a casual interest, it became a discipline, a way of life, something that demanded focus, consistency, and relentless effort. Imagine that moment, being thousands of miles away from home, stepping into something completely unfamiliar, and finding not just a skill, but a purpose. While others might have treated it as a hobby, Chuck Norris treated it as a calling. Hours of training, endless repetition, pain, failure, improvement, over and over again. And that decision changed everything. He trained, improved, and eventually returned to the United States not just as a serviceman, but as a skilled martial artist ready to make his mark. He competed, and not just casually, he dominated. Tournament after tournament, victory after victory. He built a reputation as one of the most formidable fighters of his time. This wasn't movie magic. This was real. This was sweat, discipline, and years of effort paying off. And that authenticity became the foundation of everything that followed. Because when Hollywood came calling, Chuck Norris didn't have to pretend to be tough. He already was. One of the most defining moments of his early film career came when he appeared alongside Bruce Lee in Way of the Dragon. That fight scene in the Roman Colosseum didn't just showcase two fighters, it showcased two philosophies, two energies, two icons colliding in a way that audiences had never seen before. There was no over-the-top spectacle, no distractions, just two men, skill against skill, presence against presence. Even today, that scene is remembered as one of the greatest martial arts moments in cinema history. It wasn't just a fight, it was a statement. From there, Chuck Norris carved out his place in action films. Movies like Missing in Action and Delta Force didn't rely on flashy effects or exaggerated storytelling. They relied on presence, on intensity, on the kind of energy that made you believe every punch, every kick, every moment. He became a different kind of action hero. Not loud, not overly dramatic, but steady, controlled, powerful. The kind of hero who didn't need to say much because his actions said everything. And then came the role that would introduce him to a new generation, Walker, Texas Ranger. For years, audiences tuned in to watch Cordell Walker deliver justice with a mix of martial arts skill and unwavering moral clarity. The show wasn't just entertainment, it became part of people's routines, part of their lives. Families watched it together. Kids grew up with it. It became familiar, dependable, and deeply rooted in pop culture. And with that came something unexpected. Chuck Norris stopped being just an actor. He became an idea. A representation of justice, of strength, of doing what's right no matter the cost. And that idea grew even bigger with the rise of the internet. At some point, Chuck Norris transformed into something beyond reality. The jokes started appearing. Simple at first, then everywhere. Lines that exaggerated his strength to impossible levels. Statements that turned him into a force of nature rather than a person. Chuck Norris doesn't sleep, he waits. Chuck Norris can divide by zero. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience. These weren't just jokes, they were part of a cultural shift, a moment where the internet collectively decided that Chuck Norris represented ultimate power. And the fascinating part? He embraced it. He didn't fight the jokes. He didn't reject the exaggeration. He understood it. He played along. And in doing so, he became even more iconic. Because most people would try to separate themselves from that kind of exaggeration, he leaned into it. And that made people respect him even more. But here's where things take an interesting turn. When someone becomes larger than life, when their identity becomes wrapped in myth and humor and exaggeration, something strange happens. People stop seeing them as human. They stop thinking about time, about age, about reality. And when that happens, any news about them, especially something as serious as death, feels surreal, unreal, almost impossible. That's why these rumors hit so differently. Because on one hand, people know it could be true. Everyone is human. Everyone ages. Time doesn't stop for anyone. But on the other hand, there's that lingering feeling that maybe, just maybe, Chuck Norris is the exception. That maybe the jokes are right. That maybe he really is untouchable. So when a rumor spreads claiming that he's gone, the reaction isn't just sadness. It's disbelief, it's confusion, it's resistance. People rush to comment saying things like, "This has to be fake," or "not Chuck Norris," or simply "impossible." Others start sharing memories, favorite scenes, moments from his shows, the first time they saw him on screen, the way his presence made them feel. And within minutes, what started as a rumor turns into something emotional, something shared, something real, even if the information itself isn't. And that says a lot about the power of influence, because not every celebrity creates that kind of reaction. Not every name carries that kind of weight. Chuck Norris does. Over the years, he has stepped away from the spotlight, choosing a quieter life focused on family, personal values, and causes that matter to him. And while that absence might make him less visible, it doesn't make him less relevant. If anything, it adds to the mystery. It creates space for speculation. It makes people wonder. And in today's world, where information moves faster than ever, that space gets filled quickly, sometimes with truth, sometimes with rumors, and sometimes those rumors become so widespread that they feel real. They feel confirmed, even when they're not. But there's an important lesson here. Not everything that trends is true. Not everything that spreads is accurate. And not every headline deserves belief. Because in a world driven by speed, truth often takes a back seat. People react before they verify. They share before they think. They feel before they understand. And yet truth is the only thing that actually matters. Chuck Norris remains one of the most influential figures in martial arts and action entertainment. His journey from a small-town beginning to global recognition is a reminder of what discipline, focus, and persistence can achieve. His impact goes beyond movies and television. It lives in the way people talk about him, the way people joke about him, the way people react when they think he might be gone. Because at the end of the day, legacy isn't just about what you do, it's about what people feel when they hear your name. And when people hear the name Chuck Norris, they don't just think of an actor. They think of strength. They think of resilience. They think of something that feels unbreakable. They think of a presence that doesn't fade. Which is why rumors like this will probably never stop, because legends don't fade quietly. They echo. They evolve. They get retold in different ways across different generations through different platforms, and sometimes they get tested by the very world that admires them. But here's the reality. Chuck Norris is not gone, and maybe the real story isn't about a false rumor. Maybe it's about what that rumor reveals, about how people react, about how quickly emotions rise, about how deeply one person can impact millions of lives. Because in that reaction, in that moment of collective pause, you see something powerful. You see what it means to matter. You see what it means to leave a mark that doesn't fade with time. You see what it means to become more than just a name and become a legacy. And that's something no rumor can ever take away. So the next time you see a headline that feels shocking, take a moment. Think, check, understand. Because truth deserves patience, and legends deserve accuracy. Chuck Norris remains exactly what he has always been, not just a man, not just a star, but a symbol of something bigger. And that's why, even in the face of rumors, his presence still feels as strong as ever. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.